Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Advisor's Advantage with James Murphy. We are sitting here with a first-time homebuyer named Erika.
Hello.
Hello, and we're discussing the process and what's involved and getting Erika ready to buy her first home. Very
It,
exciting stuff, isn't it?
it's exciting, it's daunting. I don't really know what to think right now.
Well, that's why you're here, and that's why we're doing this show because there's many other buyers out there that feel the same exact way, right?
Yeah.
So we're going to try and offer some comfort and some confidence to them.
Okay. That would be great.
First, we're going to give it to you.
Yeah.
All right. So we were starting to get into this a little bit as far as what's the process, right? And we were starting to talk about what your concerns are, what your thoughts are. Let's start there and let's talk to the audience and tell them a little bit about what you're looking to do.
Okay. Where am I looking? Over
Here's your
here?
camera. And
Oh,
there you
you
go.
really do have the setup.
That's all
Okay.
set up for you.
It's daunting. Yeah. Like I said, I'm on Zillow every day. I'm searching different neighborhoods in Monmouth County. I'm not originally from here. But I'm trying to be open-minded. I'm trying to see potential because I don't have a ton of resources that I could just put down to get a new home, like in perfect condition in the nicest area. That's not going to happen. So I'm trying to recognize, those diamonds in the rough and see that potential. And yeah, I this is my first time through this process, and you have been counseling me for a little while now.
Yeah. And I'm happy to continue. So, this process, as you said, can be daunting. And right now is a crazy market to be moving forward and trying to buy a house in this. So, before we get too far in, let's talk a little bit about your challenges. You've been, as you said, we've been counseling each other or talking to each other for a while. Tell us a little bit about what you've gone through, what you've seen out there.
Sure. Well, part of my challenge is just not knowing a whole lot about the
Hmm.
process in itself. Um, I have a good job. It's stable, which is
Hmm.
good, but I don't make a ton of money. I have some money in the bank, but again, not a whole lot that I feel
Hmm.
that comfortable just putting it all down. Um, and there just doesn't seem to be a lot out there. Like anything that I find that's reasonably priced and in a pretty okay area is just gone in a couple days. So,
It is a very low inventory market, and you do have to move quickly.
yeah.
Which is why it's so important that you're doing what you do, right? What you're doing here, you're getting prepared, you're putting all of your ducks in a row, and you're looking at this from a bigger perspective, right? It's not just very narrow-minded. This is what I must have. It's this is what I want, but I'm open to XYZ.
Oh, I'm totally open.
Yeah.
If it needs some work, I was telling you that our realtor said, you can put a little bit down and maybe use some of that money to fix a place up and then think about its potential. And you were mentioning that like this might not be the house that you're going to stay in forever. So think about how it might appreciate, so that you can get more out of it and then maybe find a nicer house down the road.
That's it. And that's that big picture that I'm talking about, right? It's not just about this specific moment in time.
Hmm.
Because what a lot of first time home buyers don't think about is you're not just buying a home, you're buying an appreciating asset that's going to generate future wealth, right?
Right.
So making sure you're looking in the best location possible for you, making sure that it's fitting your needs, but also what the needs would be of a potential home buyer, right? So
Hmm.
is it a nice, safe area? Where your families, you're going to have more options of people wanting to move in and buy, right?
Hmm.
You're going to have more families that want to be there because of the schools or the low crime or the cute little downtown for
Right.
yourself or even a park for, future children.
Yeah.
So this is a good first step. We understand kind of what you're looking at. Now, let's talk about what it takes to get approved for a mortgage, right? So
Mm.
you and I have touched on this a little bit, but for the audience, we're going to recap. Now, what I always like to do is put a visual onto this process, right? And the visual I will often use are hurdles. And I always say there's three main hurdles that we've got to get you over to get you approved for the mortgage. There's multiple other factors involved, but the three main ones. First hurdle is your FICO hurdle, right? Your FICO hurdle, you're in great shape there, but it's based on your credit score and your credit profile.
Right.
You happen to have two great profile and scores, so you're good there. Both you and Dan as your
I
co-buyer.
have a question. I just checked my credit the other day and it had dropped like 30 points. I just went ahead and paid off all my balances, but I was like, I've never
How did
seen
that
it
happen?
fluctuate. I don't know. Maybe my on one of my credit cards I had like purchased something
Hmm.
and it went up,
Yeah,
but I didn't realize that could do
yeah,
that 30-point drop. I was freaked out.
yeah. Well, what I tell my often what I tell my buyers and my father all the time, who loves to brag about his 827, I say credit score is a moving number, right?
Yeah.
His score was an 827 the last time he looked at it. Your score was up there the last time we looked at it. But we do things, right? We live life. We buy things, we apply for things, we cancel things. All of that impacts your credit
Right.
score,
Yeah.
right? So the credit score is basically a score that determines how you manage your credit. So when you rack up debt or you open a brand new trade line or you close out a trade line that was an older seasoned, you're going to have an impact on your score,
Right.
right? So your score, as you mentioned, could have been your utilization went up.
Right.
And because you've exceeded 30% of what your available limit is, you start to have a negative impact. And
Right.
the longer you carry that, the bigger the impact is, the longer it takes for you to come back. So those are all things that we can work with, though. That first hurdle is typically the easiest hurdle because sometimes it's just a matter of paying down debt,
I just went in there and paid off
taking care of
everything.
everything, right? Or maybe getting something deleted, which we can help with that as well.
Okay.
We could do a rapid rescore. There's ways that we can help you with the credit. You fortunately don't need that. And as far as your new credit score goes, our reports are good for over 120 days. So
Okay.
you got time with the report that we have. Now,
Okay.
the second hurdle would be your loan to value hurdle, right? And that's your LTV. Everything's an acronym in this world, so you'll find out
LTV. Everything's
LTV.
an acronym everywhere.
And I
So
and I promise you, I'm not going to do that fancy little head nod every time I read an
I'll
acronym.
just make a
I
little
mean, I
cheat
might.
sheet. I'm a total dork. So just lay the acronyms down. That's fine.
I speaking of a dork, I probably have them written down in like a book, so
Yeah.
I could definitely print something out for you.
All right.
But the LTV hurdle is really based on what percentage of the purchase price you're going to finance. So how much of a down payment are you going to put down? If you're putting down 20%, which we have here, then your loan to value, your LTV would be 80, right? Because it's 100 minus your percentage of down payment.
Yeah.
So there are minimum down payments. There is no maximum. So you can put down as much as you like. First time home buyers minimum would be anywhere from 3%,
Okay. I
right?
was going to ask about that because our realtor said 3%, and
Yeah.
I never heard that low.
Right. Well, there's 3.5%, which is your standard FHA minimum, and that's often used by first time home buyers. There are conventional first time home buyer programs specifically for first time home buyers,
Okay.
and they will allow 3% down, which we can
Okay.
look into that as well.
Okay.
Other than that, your minimum would be a 5%, and then the FHA 3.5.
Okay.
You're over that hurdle, no problem.
Okay.
2 hurdles down, 1 left to go. The third hurdle, and really the most important when you're considering buying power, what can you qualify for? That's your DTI hurdle. See,
Mm-hmm.
a little head nod. Debt to income ratio is what that stands for.
Okay.
And what that little ratio represents is what percentage of your gross income is going towards your monthly liabilities, how much your monthly payments are in comparison to
Right.
what your gross monthly
I
paycheck.
think I asked you about this before. My only thing right now is a car payment, and it's probably only like $5,000. Should I just pay that off?
Sure. Well,
Okay.
you can. There's two reasons why you would. One, you want to improve your score, and
Hmm.
maybe that's a high utilization.
Right.
Uh, Also, the second reason you want to free up your liabilities, right?
Right.
Maybe you have a DTI issue, and you're not qualifying because of that monthly payment on that
Okay.
5,000. Uh, if you wanted to take that approach, we could do so. I would probably recommend that you pay it off at closing. We can do that where you'd bring an extra 5,000 to the closing,
Okay.
right? And then a title company would pay off that car.
Okay.
But that way we can exclude it from your DTI.
Yeah.
And that's up to you whether you want to do it. You wouldn't need to do it, but maybe you might want to because it'll help you qualify for
Yeah.
more. It'll help your buying power.
Yeah.
So,
Anything to help my buying power.
well, we're gonna work on that if necessary. But we can discuss your buying power. And the buying power is based on that DTI, and you typically want to see that around 43, 45% of what your gross income is.
Okay.
We can, if we go into FHA, you can go higher on that, and with your credit as strong as it is, and your down payment is strong as it is, you could probably push that DTI like closer to 48,
Okay.
47 ish, 47 and change.
Yeah.
Um, I've got them as high as 48.9, just had to stay under
Wow.
49. So it depends on the other factors within the scenario.
Okay.
So that's that basics. That's the basics of what you need to know. Once we get over those three hurdles, then we just have to verify all the information that we have is accurate. That's when I start asking you for those documents, right? Which is always 2 years of tax returns, 30 days worth of pay stubs,
Hmm.
60 days worth of bank statements.
Hmm.
And if you're W-2 employee and you don't own any of the real estate, we're probably good with 2 years of W-2s.
Okay.
There's a photo ID there also necessary, but and then whatever other underwriter asks you for.
So I had a question about this before. I look pretty good on paper because I work at a university. I have W-2s. I have, everything's online. I can pull it really easily. My boyfriend is a musician and he doesn't look good on paper at all.
Sounds great.
But he did just sell a property that he had and he has cash money in the
Hmm.
bank. So I think the idea is like, I'm going to be the one on the paper. He's going to bring his cash money. How do we coordinate that together so it's most advantageous?
That's a great question. So we can look into this from typically you could get a gift, right? Now the caveat there is the gift needs to come from a family member. And as a boyfriend, you guys are not
Right.
necessarily
I
in that
remember
category,
that.
right?
Yeah.
So unless Dan is going to get very romantic and surprise you with
And
a
unless
proposal.
I want to marry that guy.
Well, there's always that. Yes, that's definitely a factor that you got to consider. We'd have to figure out how we would use that money,
It
right?
makes sense. I'm sure, a lot of people say, boyfriends, girlfriends maybe
Yes.
don't buy a house
Hmm.
together. I mean, we're pretty committed, but
Right. There's always the boyfriend, girlfriend, the cousin, that kind
right.
of situation. You could always start a joint account as well.
Okay.
Now, that would just require the money to be seasoned for 60 days.
Hmm.
But if you were doing that, then you could absolutely utilize that money. You just get a letter from Dan saying that you have full access.
Right.
So we can cross that bridge as we get to it. Other alternatives would be to get a gift from a family member
Right.
and then take care of other things later on. So that's the basic. What other questions do you have before we get too far into your application? Because we can even discuss that a little bit.
You had said something about points before.
Yes. So
What does that connect to?
sure. So we talked about points when we were talking about the interest rate.
Okay.
Now, in many cases, it I don't think it makes sense to pay points. In some cases, it does. What we do is we determine that by doing a simple cost versus benefit analysis, and we determine what's the cost of that point and what's the
Mhm.
benefit. And with the current state of the market right now, where we were just looking at data that shows the recessionary indicators, right? That we're either in a recession or we're heading to a recession.
Mhm.
Now, with recessions, interest rates tend to fall. Home values do fairly well. In many cases, they actually rise. So you're looking at a situation where inflation's starting to fall, and I do believe you're going to see in May we'll probably see the inflationary hit the next significant low. That's going to have to do with shelter costs falling off and
Right.
dropping the core inflationary rate. Now, when that happens, interest rates follow.
Right.
So when we talk about that cost versus benefit, we want to look at how long is it going to take for you to make back that cost.
Mhm.
Now, let's say you're saving $100 a month, but it's costing you 3 grand, just for
Mhm.
round numbers. Well, we would take that 3 grand and we divide it by the 100, and we come up with 30 months,
Mhm.
right? Well, if you're going to be out of that loan either by selling the property or refinancing, and you will more than likely want to refinance within 2 to 3 years, I would say within 5 to 8 months, you're going to see rates lower. You know, you're never going to make that money back if
Yeah.
you refinance before you
Yeah.
make, beforehand. So that's how we determine whether we pay points or not. And we were talking about, because we've been doing this for a while, we were talking about where the rates are now
Yeah.
and versus where they were when you and I first started speaking
Yeah.
a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
If not, well, it was about a year and a half
I
ago, right?
told you, James, you're in the long game with me.
I'm in the long game, and I'm
Yeah.
happy to do it,
Yeah.
especially with someone as
Yeah.
awesome as you.
Oh, thanks.
So that said, we mentioned buying down to where we were, but in many cases, especially where we're at now, I don't think it makes sense.
Honestly, the inflation or the interest rates aren't really a big concern for me. I don't know why. Like, I kind of have faith that they're going to fall. I guess my biggest concern is where, like, the location of this magical place that is, it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be all fancy or anything like that. But where's this place where I can buy a reasonably priced house that's in a good area? I just don't know.
Well, that's where the strength of a strong real estate agent comes in,
Yeah.
right? So the real estate agent that you're working with, it's important that they know the area,
Yeah.
that they know exactly what you're looking for, and it sounds like you've got that. So they I'm not saying they have the secret, but
Yeah.
they tend to have that answer for you.
Okay.
I think the right area for any buyer is somewhere that is going to be strong for the future
Mhm.
and comfortable for the present, right?
Right.
When I say strong, I mean that your future looks bright.
Right.
You're buying in an area that's up and coming, or that is already where you want it to be. A place where you can see yourself growing as an individual, as a family, as a homeowner in general.
Right.
So that's what we look for. What does the community look like? Is an area of high crime? What do the school districts look like? Because you're also thinking about resale,
Mhm.
right? And the resale, you're gonna want to make sure that you're hitting all those points, even if you don't care about them right now personally, because you're not in that position.
Right.
So where's that magical place? I'm not sure if it's in Monmouth County, but I know that's where we want to be. You definitely will get a lot more bang for your buck the farther south you go,
Yeah. Or west.
or west.
Yeah.
Yes. But who wants to leave the ocean?
I mean,
I don't.
the ocean is nice.
It is nice, and just Monmouth County in general, the area we got parks and woods and
I'm
water.
from northern New Jersey, and I do miss like more terrain. It's pretty
Right.
flat over here.
Right, but there are areas you could go to, which we could talk
There
about.
are. I mean, Hartshorn is one of
Hartshorn
my
Woods is
favorite
one of them.
places. Yeah, just
Homedale,
going to the
Tatum.
beach.
There's a few different spots.
I walk with my sister all the time, and just going to the beach, it's so expansive, and you're like, okay, life's not that big of a deal. This is fine. I
Yep.
can handle it.
My wife's in the summertime. She's always talk about the healing power of the ocean. Right?
Oh, the negative ions.
What?
I don't know.
We're not getting technical.
No,
but
I don't really know what I'm saying.
Erika,
This
you
is
just throwing stuff out like
yeah.
scientific
Ask
words.
your wife about
Oh, the
it.
neurons and
No.
the scientific approach of
The
atoms.
flowing water is supposed to give off negative ions, which are healing.
Really?
But maybe we should put that, because
Well,
I might just be talking out my butt. I don't
Listen,
know.
I think it's fantastic and probably true. You say it with confidence that I'm going to believe it.
If you say anything with confidence,
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Like, you can totally afford this mortgage.
Right.
Confident you can do this.
I'm glad you're not one of those guys, though.
No,
Yeah.
I'm definitely not.
You're a straight shooter.
As straight as I can be, yes. As straight as they get. So, there is something about the ocean. My wife always says that, like, when I'm having a tough day, she'll say, meet me at the beach.
Yeah.
In the summer, it's great.
Yeah.
Go there. We jump in the ocean. My kids are already probably in there. They've been in there all day. And there's just a healing power. Babe, it is the negative ions.
I bought a kayak. I was
Mhm.
kayaking on the bay like every day. It was amazing. It's
Yeah.
just this inflatable kayak, but it's so much fun.
It does the trick.
Just don't get in the wake of the ferry. That's not a good thing.
Yeah. Well, I regardless of what your kayak is made
Yeah.
of, you don't want to be in that way.
Yeah.
I've been in that area. I live by the bay, and it's like, it's nice until a massive ship
Yeah.
goes by,
Yeah.
and then it's turbulent. So, speaking of turbulence, you're jumping back in this market,
Yeah.
and you're out looking, and you're coming here to talk about where you are qualification wise, and just get an understanding of what the market's like now, right?
Hmm.
So we've discussed a little bit about the market. It's a lot of buyers with
Yeah.
very little inventory. I think we talked. There's almost like 2 million plus buyers out there, but nine hundred
Yeah.
sixty thousand
I'm
houses in the country
feeling
or something
that
like that.
for sure.
It's kind of crazy, and I'm sure it's going to get worse. Right? We talked about the influx of buyers coming to the market.
Right.
Right? The average age of a first-time homebuyer is 33 years old. So when you take that and you look at the fact that this year marks the first time in like 40 plus years that we've had this many people in the country turning 33 years
Yeah.
old, you can
I'm
see
older than that. It should be seniority.
there should be. You should
Yeah.
have like a first rights or
Yeah.
dibs, right? It would be nice if when we turn 33, we take one of those tickets like from like the
Right.
deli. And
Yeah.
we're like, all right, I'm not ready
You're
yet, but
next. Yeah. We'll
I
call
am
your
hoping
numbers soon.
that. But you can still get something as long as you're patient, you're working with true professionals, and like I said, you're open minded.
Yeah.
So you're going to get somewhere. I'm sure that you are. We were going to go over your qualifications as far as the numbers go. We're looking at a price point. You're right in that range. We talked about what we could do to try and get that payment down a little bit. There's really only two ways to get a payment down, and that's either put more money down or
Hmm.
find a cheaper property taxes and interest rate. What I'll tell you is what I'll tell the audience: your interest rate, your loan amount, that's spread out over 30 years,
Hmm.
right? It's your taxes and insurance that are only spread out over 12 months and have the biggest impact on your monthly payment, right?
Hmm.
As I said with visuals, I like to paint the picture, and I always say use a balloon, put your face on a balloon, and the farther you stretch it out, the tinier it
Yeah.
gets, right?
Yeah.
So same thing with your payment. When you spread that out over 30 years, it's a much smaller impact.
Right.
Whereas if you're spreading it out over 12 months, it's
Yeah.
still bigger.
Yeah.
So as you're looking for property, my biggest piece of advice is spend a lot of time focusing on the taxes.
Hmm.
Pay a close eye to that. You want to try and find something with taxes that are reasonable. The cheaper your taxes, the much bigger the house you can qualify for.
Yeah. I've also uh we were looking in Keyport, and one of the nice things about that is it's not in a flood zone. I'm
Yes.
very worried about flood zones. I don't know what's going to happen in 30 years, even if we're not living there.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's something to keep in mind when you're, near the beach and the
Yep.
ocean.
And I say that often with buyers. If you can avoid a flood zone, avoid a flood zone.
Yeah.
It's once you're in the grips of FEMA, anything can change.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, for living here my whole life, my homeowner's insurance, I'm not in a flood zone. But after Sandy, I'm a block from the bay. So we had a big impact by the wind.
Yeah.
So New Jersey's insurances all went up.
Hmm.
And even if you were in a flood zone, now there was a wind rider that drove all of our prices up. My insurance right now is probably doubled, if not close to tripled, from when I first bought my house 10 plus years ago.
Right.
And that happened after Sandy. So,
Hmm.
to that effect, once you're in that grip of FEMA, that could happen much worse, right?
Right.
The cost could get doubled just because of a storm that happened in the Midwest,
Right.
right? Recently, not too long ago, we saw that condo situation in Florida, right?
Hmm.
Terrible situation, but that changed condo insurance across the
Right.
country.
Yeah.
So little things can happen anywhere that can have a big impact on you here.
So for taxes, how do I know what the right amount of taxes are to pay?
Well, that's a good question too. Is there ever really a good amount of taxes to pay? Like, is there a right number?
Oh, I don't know.
I don't think there is.
Yeah.
I think the lowest you can in the nicest area, that's the happy medium. That's the answer.
Hmm.
Uh, keep in mind with taxes almost always go up.
Hmm.
So, what's 5 to 6 thousand right now in 10 years could be 10 to 12.
Hmm.
So you want to start in a reasonable area where the taxes aren't that high.
Hmm.
If you can get something, 7 under 8,000, I think you're doing pretty well here in
Okay.
Monmouth County. Majority of the areas, you're probably 8 to 10,
Mhm.
definitely over in many areas.
Mhm.
But I think, like I said, if you can get 7 to 8, you're doing pretty well,
Yeah.
and maybe that's a sweet spot.
Yeah.
5 to 6 would be ideal, um, but you're either then moving in an area you may not want to be in, or maybe you're moving south or west,
Right.
right?
We're talking about, you know, the potential for possibly moving south as long as it could be near a highway, not too close to a highway,
Hmm.
but near enough where I can kind of shoot up because I work in New Brunswick. So yeah, I guess location is huge. That's just the thing that keeps coming up, and we'll work with our real estate agent on that. Um, I guess like he, our we're in a winter rental that ends at the end of May. And I'm starting to get very nervous about the timing of all of this.
Yeah.
So, if it has to be, we rent again, but we have a hard and fast stop on May 31st, and if we're going to close, it has to be before then. I'm not kind of
Hmm.
getting anything that close, so I need at least 2 weeks to be able to move and everything.
Right. So, I mean, in that situation, you would definitely like to be under contract middle of April,
Yeah.
end of April.
Are bidding wars still happening?
They are. They are. And less as of right now, but they're coming back.
Yeah.
As we mentioned earlier, this is like the calm before the storm, right? So right now it's starting to intensify. You're starting to see those bidding wars start to come back. They did die down a little bit once rates skyrocketed by over 5%.
Are people still overpaying? Are they still paying more than
A
the
little bit,
asking price?
not as much. And in some cases, they're offering less than ask, which
Yeah.
hasn't happened in a while. So that's why I call this the calm, because right now, before the spring market hits, you can almost get away with that.
Yeah.
And depending on the seller situation, they might, be all in, accept that. Many of them realize that they're listing higher than the actual value is worth anyway, maybe thinking that we're still back in the older market or last year's market,
Hmm.
um, or maybe they're just hoping that other people are thinking that.
Right.
But you are seeing price reductions. I am seeing prices, sales go at ask, if not right around, just over, just under. But I would expect once the spring market hits, that bidding war is gonna rage up again,
Right.
right?
So we need to be very aggressive right now in our search
Yeah, I would say you need to be a little bit more aggressive than you would be if it was a
and
buyer's market,
open-minded too,
and
which
open-minded.
I'm totally good with. I'll be open-minded. I can see, potential in places. Um, what should I be doing right now, like on the mortgage financial side of things?
That's a great question. The That goes into what we were talking about earlier with putting your ducks in a row,
Yeah.
right? So you've already provided documentation that we need. And I mentioned earlier they were the W-2s, pay stubs, bank statements,
Yeah.
photo ID. Now, what do you need to do? I would have a folder on your computer where you're just scanning those and keeping those updated. The pay stubs
Yeah.
always need to be within 30 days of closing,
That's fine.
right? It's
Right.
easy part. 60 days for the bank statements. So
Right. I remember
documents
that.
that you may get requested for, more than once, or be requested more than once, would be your pay stubs, bank statements.
Hmm.
You could always do that. As far as anything else, I would just maintain your credit, right?
Hmm.
So you said that it dropped a little bit due to, maybe
Yeah.
increasing your purchases.
I think so. I probably just went a little crazy on Amazon or something, but I took care of it. And there are no late payments or anything like that, not recently. And then the only debt that I have is my car. I mean, I just had a root canal. It was expensive. I was like, don't put it on the credit card. I'll pay it.
And just so the audience is aware, when did you get that root canal?
It was like 12:30 this afternoon
Today.
or noon.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is really like 2 hours ago. So, wow.
Yeah, I'm not numb anymore, so it's okay. But I'm at the dentist all the time, so it's like
I
It's
am not a big
actually
fan.
I'm very weird because I like the dentist because I'm always having to move around and run around and do a bunch of things, but I can't go anywhere when I'm in the dentist chair. So I just kind of like zen out the whole experience, even though it's a root canal.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's weird.
So the fact that you can zen out while that drill is going on, the sound is there, people's hands are all in your face and mouth.
Yeah,
I
because the
think
chair is comfortable, and I know that whatever I have to take care of has to wait.
I love that. You're gonna be just fine in this buying market. I'm telling you. You know, if you can maintain that kind of level of zen while
Yeah.
you're going through these bidding processes, these wars, you're gonna be just fine. Just make sure you have a comfortable chair at home. You
Yes.
know,
Yeah.
when you're getting that call or you're
Yes.
getting that contract,
Yeah.
find a comfortable spot.
Yeah, I don't want to get into the whole bidding war bit with someone. Like that stresses me out,
Yeah.
I'm a peaceful person.
Yeah.
I don't want to feel
There's
that.
nothing calming about war
Yeah.
in
I mean,
any
I'll
type,
have
right?
if I have to do it, I'll do it, but I
You'll go all
just
out.
yeah.
I just the process in itself is aggressive and it's unsettling, right?
Right.
But again, if you've got a strong team, right, and a good team, meaning your attorney in line, your real estate professional, your mortgage professional, if you got those three that you're comfortable and confident with, it's like going into any battle with a strong army,
Yeah.
right? You're going to be okay, right? The people there that are around you, they're going to take
Yeah.
care of you.
Yeah.
And I know I will as well. So, uh, what, let me ask you, when you first decided to buy a house, where were your thoughts? What were you feeling?
Uh, I I have some money and I want to put it into something meaningful. I was tired of renting. I've moved apartment to apartment. It's just I wanted to really build a foundation, and it's not like I don't want to like put my money in the stock market or anything. That's just not my style. I wanted to put it in something that's meaningful to me, and so a home would be that thing.
Yeah, it sure would. And no other investment wheel is going to give you the kind of return
Right.
that that home would. How are you feeling now?
I'm excited,
Still
but
excited.
I'm still excited
Good.
about the prospect, but I'm starting to temper that a bit
Mhm.
because I realize that it's not going to be easy. There aren't that many properties, anything within what I'm looking for, the price range, other people are going to be, zoned in on that too. So, yeah, I'm thinking that I'm gonna have to be more flexible and more open about the whole process and really see potential. I may not get the turnkey, perfect home in the great neighborhood. That's okay. I'm willing to, be a part of creating something
Hmm.
new.
I love that. And I think you will do just fine with that mindset. The only reason it's not perfect is because you haven't bought it yet,
Right.
right? What it is important, but it's not as relevant to what it could be.
It's so funny because our real estate agent, he's got a guy for everything.
Hmm.
So we saw a place in Keyport. There was some water in the basement, which I was really nervous about. And he was like, "That's probably just the pipe. It's not working." And he's like, "I got a guy for that." And then like I don't know, something else. It's just, oh yeah, it's cool. I got a guy for that. When you know me, I got a guy. I'm making him sound shady right now, but he's
No.
not. He's not. I think he's from the area. I know he's got lots of guys and gals
Uh-huh.
for stuff, which is good.
Well, you do this long enough, you vet professionals, you work with all kinds of people, all in the same field, but good ones, not so good ones, and the good ones you tend to hold on to,
Yeah.
right? I would absolutely say that I've got a guy or a gal
Yeah.
for almost anything you need, but that's what 2 decades in this industry will
Right.
do,
Yeah.
right? When you find someone really good, it's like, I need to write your
Right.
name and number down because you're who I want to work with.
Yeah. And that's the other thing. Like if a home is in need of some repair, I mean, I'm not going to go in on anything that's structurally unsound or anything like that, but some, significant cosmetic repair, are we still seeing, backups in products and delivery and materials, so it's a little nerve-wracking. People I talk to who have had work done on their homes are still waiting for
Yes.
materials, and so I'm willing to pay less for something that's, not in tip-top shape, but I realize you're still paying for it in some way when you have to live in a place that's like not totally finished, and there's workers coming in and it just doesn't feel settled.
Right, Erica, that's a great point. And not everybody thinks about that point. The delay process of waiting for material, or what we're going through with, you know, having not having this, or having this, but now the costs are so much higher. So, going into any construction project, renovation project, any fixer upper is something that we have to look at carefully.
Hmm.
Now, here at Advisors, we've got our own program. We've got a section of Advisors called Fix It Mortgage, and that's our renovation team. I'm one of the certified loan officers, so we can get into that conversation if you want to get into it. But I would also redirect you to, I bring in the team, right? And these are professionals that have been doing this for 20 plus years,
Hmm.
specifically in that arena of
Right.
renovation. So we've got plenty of talent and plenty of experience in that. But are they more costly? Yes.
Yeah.
Do they come with some extra hurdles? Yes. And
Hmm.
that's just part of the process that you have to be comfortable with going into those kind of
Right.
transactions. So we would get into that conversation if that's the route you wanted to take.
Yeah.
But if it's something that's small or cosmetic, or like a kitchen that you just want to improve, what many buyers will do is just get into the house. They may do what your agent recommended and put less money down, so they have
Hmm.
more money for the repairs or the cosmetics. Um, or they pull out some equity later on. Right? You
Yeah.
might live in that house for a year or so. If you can tolerate the wallpaper or old kitchen or
Yeah.
whatever the issues
Yeah.
are, then your equity is going to grow. Right? We
Hmm.
mentioned earlier that it's an appreciating asset. What it's worth today is not going to be what it's worth tomorrow. And if you're buying in the right area, it's going to be worth more.
Yeah.
So that's another option that you could take, if you're looking to buy a fixer upper, but a move in or fudge
Yeah,
sale.
I mean, cosmetic stuff, okay, but like structurally unsound, no, I don't think that's where I'm at.
Yeah, that's a project.
Yeah,
It's
that's a big
definitely a project.
project.
Well, looking at your numbers, we don't have to spend too much time on this because we kind of addressed it as we've gone along here.
Hmm.
What were some of your concerns? We've kind of answered them throughout this little interview.
Yeah.
Do you have anything specific that you want to get into regarding your loan?
I don't know. What should I be asking right now?
Anything that's going to bring you comfort and confidence, right?
I don't know. I think for me, it's just going to be getting my ducks in order, like you said. I know you sent me before that sort of place to upload all of
Yeah.
my things. So, really just focusing on that and having this, iterative conversation with you that will evolve. I
Mhm.
think it will all kind of fall into place. But I appreciate you sticking with me. I was nervous to reach out to you because, like, we've been through this a couple times before. And then
Yeah.
I was like, no, 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 not now. And I was like, he probably doesn't even want to work with me anymore. But of course, you
Never.
you were there. And so, yeah, I think, the conversation is just going to continue. And as I learn more, I'll probably have more questions. And yeah, but I feel comfortable with you. I feel good about collecting. I feel good about where I'm at and collecting everything and getting those things to you. And then I think that's pretty much it.
Yeah, you're definitely in a great spot. Everything's in. We know where your qualifications are and what you should be doing moving forward. Just checking in with me when you see something that you like.
Yeah.
We kind of have an idea of where the tax range should be, where the purchase price should
Right.
be, and the loan amount based on what you have for the down payment.
Right.
So moving forward, when you see something that you're interested in, just need to send me the MLS listing,
Okay.
the internet listing, along with what you want to put down. That way, I can plug in the numbers, see what the taxes are, and determine what the monthly payment is and whether or not we're going to qualify for it.
Okay.
So you're in a great position for that. You're kind of just on this ride until you hit your destination.
Yeah.
That's going to be when you can put an offer.
Yes.
And when you
Yeah.
find that house that you want to put an offer on, You send it to me, we go through the numbers, we make sure you're comfortable, and then if it's a go, we send out a pre-approval letter to your real
Mhm.
estate professional, and then they put the offer in, and God willing, they accept your offer, and
Right.
then we get to the next part of the process.
Right. And so that next part of the process is like inspections,
Mhm.
everything like that. So everything's kind of pending. How long does that usually take from the time that you put in an offer and all that stuff happens?
Erica, you are crushing these questions today. This is fantastic. That is different case by case, right?
Mhm.
Your standard time frame would be somewhere around 30, maybe plus or minus a week or so, 30 days or so to close. And most contracts will reflect something along those means.
Yeah.
As far as what it takes, you step by step would be you get into attorney review, right? You put your offer in, they've accepted your offer, and now you go through this attorney review process. And that's where your attorney is going to go back and forth with the seller's attorney, and you guys are going to come to an agreement on the contract.
Mhm.
Once that happens, you then have a period of time, most of the time it's like 10 days or so, to get your inspection and come back to your attorney with any issues or concerns you might have. So, if there are concerns, your attorney will address them with the seller's attorney. You guys will find some
Right.
happy place in the middle, right?
So we really need to be as upfront as possible about everything because, timing is a big issue for us having that hard stop at the end of May. So, really making sure we articulate everything to the realtor, the lawyer, so those things can be built into whatever it is
Yeah.
that I don't even know what to say. What
Well,
is it? A
one hundred
contract?
percent.
Yeah.
Well, into
Yeah.
the contract,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, because you'll often. I mean, I've been doing this long enough. I've seen all kinds of things, and I've
Yeah.
seen buyers try to get away with stuff where they'll ask for something or propose that they're offering something, and then try to change it later on, and then that will blow up a contract.
Right.
Sellers will offer stuff, say they're willing to do certain things,
Yeah.
and then not, and that blows up the
Yeah.
transaction. So transparency is definitely necessary, and the more you have, the more beneficial it
Yeah.
is to
Oh
you
no.
and the seller.
I'm TMI queen. So yeah.
Well, that being said, you should have no problem going back and forth,
Hmm.
and that's where the strength of an attorney comes in because they're going to be their lead, right? They're the ones
Hmm.
that are fighting for you in that.
Hmm.
Once you get out of attorney review, you've had a successful inspection. That's when we're moving on the mortgage paperwork. We'll probably get started before the inspection, but after the inspection, we'll order the appraisal.
Hmm.
Appraiser is going to go out, evaluate the property, determine what the worth of the property is based on the surrounding area,
Hmm.
pulling comps from the mile square radius of where you're buying, and determine whether or not the sales price is adequate and what the actual value of that property is.
Hmm.
In most cases, the value is what the sales price is. In
Hmm.
some cases where it's not, then there's another conversation to be had
Right.
with the attorney. Now, previously in these last 2 3 years, 2 years or so, you people were waiving rights to everything.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
Like
you remember,
no
right?
inspection.
No
Yeah. That
inspection.
that was one of the big reasons where I was like, no, I can't. I don't know. It could look good. You have no idea
Right.
though.
Right. No appraisal. I don't
Yeah.
care if you're asking 500 and it
Yeah.
appraises for 4. I'm gonna throw an extra 100,000 in.
Yeah.
That's a real case that I had, which was
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
okay. So, there was all that kind of stuff going on, and right now there's less of it because a lot of buyers have pulled back. When they come back out, all of these new tricks and tactics that these real estate professionals have been using, they're
Hmm.
all coming back,
Hmm.
right? So, that's the problem of a seller's market is you're at their mercy.
Right.
They have the pick of the litter, they'll take who
Yeah.
they want, and they're going to want what's best for them.
Yeah. I wish someone would just get to know me and have coffee with me and maybe go with the humanities side of things. But I understand that's not how it works.
I mean, no, not exactly, but you could write a very heartwarming letter.
Okay.
And
I'm good at that.
that could be something that you submit with your offer that just honestly I've seen that work
Yeah.
where it I have seen buyers get chosen based on the story. And the
Right.
story was something like, very my family this, I my
Yeah.
experience here, what
Yeah.
I've done in the past,
Oh,
you know,
that's
who I am, what I do for people. And those are the kind of things that get people thinking like, all right, well, you know
right.
what? It's not as much as I want, but I love this person. I think
Right.
she's fantastic. I
Yeah.
want my home that I've raised a family in, that I've lived and created these memories to go to somebody
Yeah.
like that.
I'm guessing that's the exception, not the rule.
I mean,
Most people want the money, but
in
I'll
many
try.
cases, yes. But listen, at this point, you got to try everything
I'll
you
try
can.
everything.
Right. So maybe you start working on that letter
Yeah,
right
that's
now,
what I
and we'll
do.
have it ready.
Yeah.
That wouldn't be a bad idea. But the market is what it is, and we just need to try and find an advantage to get you into that house. And that's what we're focused on here with the Advisor's Advantage. Our focus is how can we provide an advantage to you as the
Mhm.
buyer, right? So we interview professionals, we get their opinions, and when we're lucky enough, we get buyers like yourself to come on out and talk about your
Yeah, I
experiences.
mean, I just came right from the dentist and you said, come on here. I've never done this before. I shouted in your ear because I
It was
didn't
good.
know how close to be the microphone, but I want to get one of these setups at home.
It's
And
fun, right?
yeah, I mean, for me, I'm like a sensitive, not sensitive, like wishy-washy, but like the human connection is
It's
important,
important.
right? So
Yes.
I don't want to feel like I'm getting had by anyone. So building these relationships with you, with our agent, and just that's the most important thing because I trust my intuition. I don't think I'm naive, but um yeah, I think being able to have these conversations and be so forthcoming is huge for me. So
It's
thanks for
everything.
the FaceTime. We were just going to do a call. I'm glad I said I would
Yeah.
come in. I'm glad I'm down the street. So I'm going to bug you all the time.
I look forward to it. You're never bugging me, as I say often, to my wife's dismay, this cell phone is always on me.
Okay.
So you are welcome to call, you're welcome to text, and you're welcome to stop by. Just know I'm probably going to pull you into the podcast room every
Okay.
time.
All right. Well, I kind of like this. Now I'm just going to come not right after the dentist and after I've eaten some food because I dig this.
This is fun. This
Okay.
is fun.
Cool.
Well, I want to thank you. I think we'll
Thanks.
end it here.
Okay.
You know what? What I do, actually, before we end it, we're going to end it like I normally would end it with my professionals out there. And this is what I call leaving the audience with a parting piece of pie.
Mm.
Now, you can imagine pie is an acronym, right?
Mm.
And a pie acronym stands for something profound, something inspiring, and something entertaining. You may tell me one of the three, or you may tell me all three. The microphone is yours.
Oh my God. Why are you doing this to me right now? Anything
Anything.
profound?
Profound, inspiring, entertaining.
Oh, man.
I know.
I
This is
mean,
the fun part for
here's
us and the audience.
all right, folks. Here you go. Here's
Here we
the real deal. No,
sit back, ladies and gentlemen. Relax.
I think what I've realized in my life, a lot of things have happened personally, in this process is just to roll with it. Like I, being rigid, having this very narrow trajectory where you're like, this is what I'm doing. I'm not going to deviate. Maybe that's worked in the past, but right now things are tumultuous. People are weird, like there's a lot of variables. And the only thing you could do is just, have your own sense of integrity, keep your stuff together, don't react to everything, and just ride the ride, man. I don't know.
That was fantastic and inspiring and
Okay.
also profound.
Oh, all right.
Uh,
Sure.
Thank you again
Thank
for
you.
everything. This has been the Advisor's Advantage with James Murphy and Erika, where we are giving you the advantage you need for the experience you want.
I
We'll see
like
you.
that.
Yeah, I like it too. We'll see you on the next show. Thank you.